What is up? It is Raticake, and I am here with DuccSucc, and we are doing the Week 5 Power Rankings. It's the first one this season. It's going to be probably a bit longer because Duck has notes to recap kind of each coach so far this year and why they all are where they are. So, Duck?
Yeah, what's up? It's your boy Duck, and you can just ignore Rat's rankings. I just spent the past 3 hours analyzing every single battle, so mine are the official ones.
Yes, I 100% agree with that. That he probably has much better
Yeah,
rankings.
I hope all you viewers out there are gonna get are like a big fan of the sound of papers rustling. So I got a lot of papers.
Okay. So, with that,
Yeah, if you can't tell, this is gonna be a long one, so get some popcorn.
yeah, we'll just hop into it to try to make it a little less long. So right away, off the bat, we have new coaches. So we didn't really touch on to them. Azusa, I believe it is replacing Sky. They've only had 2 battles, so we didn't quite feel comfortable ranking them against everyone else. Also, Starmon, who's replacing Devin, only has 1 battle. I don't have too much to say about Azusa so far. It seems to be kind of struggling to adjust to Sky's team because Sky started out 2-0 and then left. And then once Azusa took over, he's gone 0-2. However, it was against Nathan and Hammy, which are 2 of the best people in the league right now. So it's really hard to tell if it's just hard adjusting to the league so far or to the team or if it's just good opponents.
Yeah, I played with Azusa in one other league, and I don't know why, but I have a habit of criminally underrating him. Like, for whatever reason, I just always assume, oh yeah, Azusa, easy win. But that's not the case. In the one league match I did against him, I actually did end up losing. So, it's very possible in future PRs you see Azusa really high on the rankings. Starmon, who I might refer to as MVP at times because I know him by that in a different league. I played him as well. He's pretty good. He has one win. Sorry, one win under his belt since taking over. So I do expect these two to do pretty well, but there's just obviously not enough data to be ranking them right now.
Yeah, and Starmon I was impressed with in their first battle. They beat Zombie, who is someone, if you've heard about, I'm a huge fan of Zombie's team. I know Zombie can be kind of hit or miss in battles, but Starmon beat Zombie with Devin's team, which Devin had not won a single battle the whole year. Devin had kind of been getting stomped, not gonna lie, in a lot of his battles. So to see Starmon come in and win with that team that they didn't build was really impressive to me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we want to move on to the actual rankings now.
Yep. So I guess I'll just start. 14th, I have Jason. You have Seb. I'll start with Jason. Jason is currently 1-3, a -7 differential, 15th in the rankings. Starmon is currently. This is standings based on win loss and differential. So yeah, I have just Jason down at the bottom. Jason somehow beat Vesuvius right away in the beginning of the season. But then lost to Capital, lost to Seb, lost to Pesky. And is just lately hasn't won any of the last 3, and that's why I have Jason solo and lost decently big to end up -7 differential. And that's really most of what I have. It's just lately started out looking like Jason was going to be stellar. After week 1, might have been in the top, or probably would have been top 5 for sure in rankings, and then from there has not really done anything.
Yeah, these two, Jason and Seb, were really hard for me to rank. I think they're both definitely bottom 2. As much as it pains me to say it, because I really like Seb. I like fighting him. He's a good battler. I can't tell you why he hasn't been doing very well in the VTID either season. I think I put Jason a bit above Seb just because he did have that win against Vess, who is one of the higher ranked coaches. And right now, Seb's only win is against Jason, who was such a low ranked coach. So I felt like just that one win was more valuable than Seb's one win. But really, these two could be either or for me. They're so close, in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess to me the only real difference was the fact that Seb has not played his week 4 battle yet against MX. That will probably be happening soon, but we just didn't have time to wait on it since this is so late anyways. But Seb won his week 3 battle, so at least he's kind of showing to, like, he might maybe he'll have some momentum going in, which it's against MX, which is a really hard battle. But Jason is just, since it's on a 3-game losing streak, I just I had to put him at 14 compared to Seb, who won last week, or his last game.
Yeah, I can understand that. I think Seb and MX have either already battled, like, as I was prepping for this video, or they're battling really soon. I think it's one of those two. I know there was scheduling efforts going on, so...
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know the results of that battle, if it has happened, so we're not including them in here. But yeah, I think these two are just super close. Could go either way.
Yep. So for 13th, we just have those flipped. We've already talked about both of them. Why we each have them. They basically could be tied, but... yeah. So we'll just move on to the 12th. Do you want to start with your 12th pick?
No, I'm going to have you start on each of these so I can go through and get my right notes out.
Alright, sounds good. So 12th, I have Arch. That's right, I have Arch all the way down to 12th. One of my favorite battlers, and I will say, Arch has basically knocked out the 4 best, or played against the 4 best players in the league so far, give or take, this season already. So the 1 and 3, it looks really bad, but Arch beat MX, lost to Pesky, lost to Wolf, lost to Vesuvius, who, if you've paid any attention, those are 4 outstanding coaches. So I think Arch is very soon going to rise way up in my rankings. But I think just at the time, with just 1 win, I have to put him down at 12th. I also do think that after we got all of our stuff together, might have battled, but at the time that I made all my rankings and put that together, is just being 1 and 3, has a 0 differential, which is pretty insane to me. So obviously having a very close battles with all of those extremely good coaches, Arch is about to jump up, but at the time being, has to stay pretty low for me.
Yeah, with Arch, I was about to point out that 0 differential if you hadn't. His losses are all really close. It was 1-0 against Pesky, 1-0 against Wolf. I actually don't have the differential for Vest written down for some reason. But all of his losses were really close, and a lot of the time it just boiled down to a bad lead. Like in his match with Vest, it was pretty much he had a bad lead matchup, and then that allowed Blastoise to punch a fairly sizable hole in his team, and the rest of the battle they were just so even that early lead just carried Vest to the victory. So it's a lot of little factors that are making him lose matches, and it's not like he's having a lot of bad luck with just not getting the advantage he needs to push forward and win matches, but he's not losing badly at all. And his 1 win against MX was a 3-0, which is a pretty sizable differential. Unfortunately, with that match, it's hard to count it very high because there was a lot of hacks, a lot of crits. And I've also noticed he hasn't been playing as well with Licky Licky as MX did last season. I believe Licky Licky was either the defensive MVP or
I believe it was the defensive MVP, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like Arc is squandering that a little bit, which is why he's not doing quite as well. But he definitely has the potential to start winning matches and rising through the ranks, which is why I don't have him nearly as low.
Yeah, and I have Arch I talk to Arch a lot, outside of the VTID, just talking about the VTID and stuff. And I know Arch decided this season to go with some stuff that they weren't used to really, quite like last season had Mega Venusaur, which is something that I'd say almost anyone can use effectively because it's such a good mon. Plus, I believe that Arch had used it before and was pretty comfortable with it, whereas this year wanted to try some new things out. And so I'm sure not only, and I do know that some of those earlier games were a little hacksy, for both side to them. But I think that once Arch kind of gets into the groove of their team, I think that, and now that they're about to probably have a lot easier of a season, can easily climb up in the rankings.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but I was sort of taking into consideration last season with my rankings. So seeing as how well Arc proved himself last season, I kind of gave him a couple points up. I'm going to move on to Zeb now. And the reason I have him so low, which, don't hate me, he's not actually that much lower than his official ranking. He's 11th, and I put him at 12th. His matches, they're not very noteworthy, to be honest. His week 1 versus Sky, he lost. It was kind of like the Arc and Vest match I was talking about earlier, where one of them just got a decent lead at the beginning, and it was even for the rest of the game, so that decent lead led to the win, which was Sky being able to set up a Dragon Dance with Tyrantrum and punch holes with Head Smash. That's basically what got him the game. His week 2 match with Nathan ended up in a 6-0 loss, just because his Florges and Nathan's his Tapu Fini got into a Calm Mind war, and Nathan won the war. He got the crit first, so that just led into a sweep. He won 2-0 versus Zombie. Zombie's not like the best coach, to be honest. He's kind of low down on here, so I don't count that win very heavily in his favor. And he got a 1-0 win versus Devin, who, if Devin was still here, he probably would be at the bottom of the power rankings.
Yeah.
And having a 1-0 it's a 1-0 win with a lot of hacks on his side. Like, I helped Devin prep for that match, and so I was kind of invested in the outcome. So seeing Devin lose like that, I went through and calculated all the hacks that needed to happen, and it turned out that Zeb had like a 0.4% chance of winning that match with all the hacks he got.
Yeah,
and
like the way they work.
There's also some unsportsmanlike words that kind of made me bump him down a bit, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I feel he deserves a lower spot than Arc and some of the other coaches who I was actually fairly impressed with. Like, I went into researching for these power rankings, knowing nothing about how Zeb was doing. I thought he was doing pretty good, because I believe he did really well in off-season, but I just wasn't impressed at all with his results, so I bumped him down.
Yeah, I have Zeb a bit higher. For me, honestly, they only played like 2 weeks, but there was like a while I wasn't able to pay attention to it because I was back home from college working a lot, so I just had to go off mostly how records were looking and stuff, and there was a couple reasons. As you know, I do like Zombie a lot. I'm a little biased towards Zombie's team. So I thought that win was actually decent. The loss to Sky, who Sky was doing well in the beginning of the season, and then the loss to Nathan. Nathan is one of my other favorite coaches so far this season. That wasn't too big to me. Honestly, the Devin one doesn't mean a ton. I'm sorry if you watched this, Devin, but Devin was 0-4, and like that was losing to a lot of the like bottom teams in the league. However, I just felt like Zeb at the current moment was with like a two win streak, kind of had some momentum going. Plus, also for me, it was really hard to tell because there's 8 teams who have 2 wins. So like, it's hard to find out if you're not watching every single game, which you went through and did, but it was just a little hard for me to figure out with all of the 2 win teams where to put them, and I put Zeb a bit higher just because Zeb has that 2 win streak. I think that Zombie has very off and on days, but like with Zombie's team that's very solid. I think that Zeb would have to play decent at least to beat it, so I put him a bit higher.
Alright, you want to move on to the next one?
Yeah. So the next one, 11th, I have Luke, you have Zombie. I guess I'll start with Luke. So Luke currently is 2-2, another one of those teams. Luke has beaten Nuno, who is actually, I've been fairly impressed with this season so far, or at least some of Nuno's wins. Um, is ranked pretty highly, has beat Devin, and beat Hammy is the big thing. So the fact that Luke was able to beat that person gives him a bump up. Lost to Hammy, which stinks, but Hammy actually has been doing very well this season also so far. Is currently sitting at like 4-1. Then beat Devin, as we talked about earlier. Devin was 0-4, so that's not too big. And then lost to Zombie, who, as I said, I like. So the two losses, I'm not putting too much against Luke, because Luke is showing a lot of improvement from last season and could be kind of rolling with it. But at the same time, did win like Devin, which definitely should have won, and Nuno, which was a decently hard game, but then lost two of those other harder games. And the fact that Luke really did struggle last season, it's hard for me to put Luke a ton higher than 11th right now. Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like my rankings in this area are not as accurate as they maybe could be. I put Luke higher up, which may have been, not completely accurate. I just feel like his wins weren't super impressive. Like, Nuno is doing really well, and his prep was against Nuno was like really good. Like, I'm really impressed with what Luke is doing with Silvally, which I find to be a really hard mon to use, especially in draft, and just him being able to work with that mon so well really made me push him a bit higher. And, he is in 8th place, even though he has that 2-2 record, which a lot of people do have. And I think looking at Zombie and Luke like right next to each other, it definitely looks like Zombie is doing better. So it might be a bit questionable that I'd be putting Zombie so low. But I don't know, I was just really impressed with what Luke was doing. Like, his wins always seemed really impressive to me. He did actually lose to Zombie, and Zombie got off a really impressive 6-0 sweep with Celebi. All in all, I just feel like Luke is doing really well, and I'm impressed by what he's done, and I've seen him put in a lot of work in other leagues. And segueing a bit into Zombie, I really wanted to put him higher, to be honest. I was a lot more impressed with watching these battles than I thought I would be. It's like kind of the opposite of what I did with Zeb. I thought he'd be really bad, but he turned out to be a lot better than I was expecting. I almost said hoping. That's not what I mean. Zombie, I hope you do great. A lot of his losses are, again, narrow, like Ark's losses. 1-0. He won 1-0 versus Nathan, lost 1-0 versus Sky, lost 2-0 versus Zeb, and then got a 6-0 win, but then he lost 4-0 to MVP, or Starmon. So he is a bit hit or miss, but I feel like overall he's just doing... Like, I feel like I'm trying to say good things, I'm ranking him so low. But yeah, I just feel like having that 4-0 loss and a lot of other losses to like Nathan and Sky, it's hard for me to put him up super high when he is naturally just so low in the rankings.
Well, and I think it's kind of like, as you were saying, it's Zombie is almost there, and it's the same thing. It's the same thing with Arch for me. They're almost there, but they haven't quite found it. So they could easily jump up, but at the time being, they're gonna sit a little low.
Yeah.
I guess one thing for those who I guess don't know, haven't heard about people talking about it, the way the season was set up was basically 1, 2, 3, and 4 were all in like a little pool, and they like the ranked people, and they all battled each other, like the first 3 games, and then 5, 6, 7, 8 did the same thing where they all battled each other. So, and then whatever, on and on. That's one of the reasons I have Luke so low. Is Luke is 2-2. Yes, has 2 wins. However, Luke is in that bottom bracket of people, which is kind of hard to say because most of the other people like Nuno, Hammy, and I guess at the time Devin, they were all from the D League, so they still, or off season, so they all could have been very solid battlers, but just being in that little bottom bracket made me want to put Luke a little lower, and that's kind of the reason I put Zombie a little higher is because Zombie's in like a tier, so to say, above.
Yeah. Actually, looking at my notes again, I think I figured out why I ranked Zombie so low, and that's his week 3 battle versus Zeb, where Zombie just played horribly. Like, he was always attacking whatever was directly in front of him. I don't think he made a single prediction the entire battle. His prep work didn't seem very good at all. Like, he just didn't have answers to a lot of common things, like Celesteela, Zeb Celesteela. Like, that thing was certain to come, and he just didn't prep for it. And so, like, just having him mess up that badly, it just, I don't know, it makes it hard for me to rank him any higher. And then there's also his match for Starmon, which happened really recently. Zombie could have eased that match, but he ended up sacking his Mega Scizor when Mega Scizor easily clicked Bullet Punch and cleaned up. And he basically turned a 1-0 victory into a 4-0 loss with that one sack. So I feel like if that's something he's liable to do in future games, he's not going to be able to rise up very far, and that's why I have him as low as I do.
Yeah, Zombie is someone who just like is very hit or miss and just needs something to click, like every week, and will easily rise up. So I think we've talked enough about these 11th ranked. Should we move on to the next one?
Oh yeah, Cap.
So we both have Cap in 10th. Cap is 2-2, -1 differential in 6th. However, this is a little deceiving, I'd say, because there are 3 people who are all 2-2 with a -1 differential. I think we already covered one of them so far. Yeah, it's Cap, Luke, and Pesky. So why I moved Cap down this low is Cap did have some pretty nice wins early in the season, beating Seb, and then I guess at the time beating Jason, which it seemed like a really big thing because Jason just beat Vesuvius the week before. And then Seb, who we already touched on, has only beaten Jason, but also has not had a battle against MX. But Cap, while being 2-2, starting out very strong, having good prep, pretty good play, it's on a 2-loss streak. Once Cap got facing the better battlers, aka Vesuvius and Wolf, just didn't meet like what Cap had to do and started to struggle. So I think it really puts him at a disadvantage, showing that Cap so far is struggling and hasn't shown that he can battle against the top battlers in the league.
Yeah, and that 2-2 record is kind of deceiving because his battle against Seb was very, very nearly a win for Seb. Seb outplayed him every single turn and just did absolutely great, and Cap was being dumb, honestly. Like, he left his superior in to Leaf Storm a Latios turn 1, and that Latios ate it up. It did like 20%. And then turn 2, he does it again. Even though that Latios could have easily killed him. He misplayed a lot with that superior. He does that in future games as well. Just throwing out Leaf Storms when it does nothing for him. And he did end up pulling out a 3-0 win in that match. But the only reason that happened was because Mega Beedrill's busted. Like, he got off the Fell Stinger and swept from there. But if he didn't have Mega Beedrill, he would have had nothing to do against Seb's team. Like, Seb is one of the lower ranked coaches in this league, so pulling out that win so narrowly by the skin of his teeth is just it's kind of embarrassing, honestly.
Yeah, I think that Cap is going to drop. I'm sorry, Cap. I think Cap is going to drop in our rankings. Has a battle. So Cap's next 3 battles are MX, Pesky, and Arch. All 3 extremely good battlers, and just as I said, Cap has not proven that can battle against those, but I'm really interested to see where Cap ends up later in the season, because Cap has shown against the lower ranked battlers Cap can do well, can't quite meet with the upper ranked ones, but then like week 8 on, I think most of those battlers are pretty close, and I'm interested to see where that goes.
Yeah, and Cap, not to be all doom and gloom, Cap sucks. He has actually shown some surprisingly good potential. Like in his week 2 match against Jason, which I know Jason isn't ranked very highly, but he was playing really, really well with his Pyukumuku, and I was actually surprised to see that thing doing a lot of work. Like, if Cap keeps using Pyukumuku that way, and starts using his other mons in similar fashions, where he's bringing out the potential and strength of them, he can do really well. It's just he has to not do things like run dual dance Gligar and almost choke away that game.
Yeah.
Which that was the same game as the week 2 versus Jason, okay. By the way.
Yep.
Yeah, he brought dual dance Gligar and very, very nearly choked away his win.
Yeah, you gotta bring some surprise tech. I don't even know what to say about that. But yeah.
Before we go off of Cap, are you do you know what a stack Attacker is? It was embarrassing the way you played against Vess's stack Attacker. He led Mega Beedrill against the stack Attacker and didn't immediately switch out.
Yeah.
Eventually he did switch out, but his Passimian then just got one-shot by a Gyro Ball, and then he switched back into Beedrill, which didn't kill with Drill Run, got knocked out. Then he went into Superior, didn't kill with Leaf Storm. I don't think that thing got knocked out, though. But yeah, learn what a Stack Attacker is and try to beat it next time.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of these 2-2 coaches, honestly, a lot of the lower ones, this year or last season, there were some not there were just coaches that you knew were way below the rest, and there wasn't much that was gonna happen. I feel like most of the people here are so close to doing so well and are just barely missing out on something that as soon as it clicks, they can be right back into it. And I think that Cap is also one of them. But I've also said that about the last 3 because I think basically everyone in this lower part they've shown such good potential. But then they've also shown some pretty bad, not good potential. So
yeah, Cap in particular has a habit of not caring about a game and just kind of throwing it into the garbage. And if he can keep his head on his shoulders and put some effort into prepping and playing the game, he can definitely pull out wins. He just needs to not do dumb things as often.
Yep. Okay, so I think with this, we'll just move on. We've talked about Cap for quite a bit.
Yeah.
And we will move on to our 9th, which I have Zombie.
We've also already talked about.
Yes. I have Zombie, you have Arch. We've already talked a lot about Arch. I also do agree. Or I think if I am doing this next week or whatever, I can very soon see Arch being up here. I just want Arch to get a win week 5, and I'll be ready to move him up. Just though being 1-3 to
the only thing holding him back is his record right now. He's not demonstrating a lack of skill. He's just so close to breaking free of that terrible record.
And as we said, he's already played at least last season by far the 4 hardest coaches, and that obviously kind of comes over into the season, as you'll see in the rankings. Everyone he's already battled are pretty high up, and they also all battled each other. So the fact that they're so close, Arch is ready to move up soon. Zombie, we already talked about a little bit. I really like Zombie's team. I think Zombie is someone who, more so than the others, is almost right there. And I think one of the things that helps is I truly believe that Zombie's team, I guess good and bad, you don't need to know much about it to use it. It seems like just a very solid team. However, on the bad side, I don't know if it's quite as the people battling it. You kind of know what it's going to do a bit more, but I think it's just one that's so overwhelmingly powerful that once he gets used to it and its play style and how he should play it, he'll do well if Zombie can pull it out.
Yeah, teams is actually one of the things I didn't look at as much as I probably wanted to. After watching battles for 3 hours, I didn't quite have the motivation to look over teams and rate them. But I do remember Zombie having a good team. He just needs to click with it a bit more. I really want to see him using Gudra a bit better, because I noticed him misplaying a lot with his Gudra. But yeah, he has a good team. He just needs to, work with it a bit more, get to know his Pokemon, spend a nice afternoon with them. But yeah, he definitely has the potential to go a bit higher. Just need to see him break through, maybe get a positive record and a positive differential. I could see him definitely rising.
Yeah.
So you ready to move on?
Yeah, we talked about these coaches quite a bit, so we'll move on to 8th. Another 2 coaches. You'll see, like, we have a lot of coaches kind of flip-flopped in these 2 and 2 or 2 wins, whatever, coaches. We already talked about Zeb. I like how Zeb is on a 2-win streak, started out rough, but to me, Zeb does seem to be kind of clicking with his team a little bit more, but we'll see as he gets going against harder coaches. And then Luke, we already talked about part of the reason for me is just last season Luke could not quite get it going, and has this season for me lost some of those better matchups or the harder battles, which you can't blame him too much, but at the same time you have to win those for me to get a little bit higher up.
Yeah. And well, to be honest, I gotta put Luke up there, a bit higher than you did, because I don't think I've ever beaten him in a league match, to be honest.
Okay, that'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah, moving on to number 7.
7. We both have Nuno. So Nuno.
Wait. We have the Nuno Gomez 21.
The Nuno Gomez 21.
Someone said that in one of his matches, and I just thought it was the funniest thing.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah, I'm not, like you've said, like a lot of these people, outside of this league, I don't know. I've played with, I believe, Nathan before outside of this league, but Nathan is like the only one I knew before this league. So, Nuno though, 2 and 2 +1, one of the few, if not, I'm just gonna check really quick. Nuno is the only person who is 2 and 2 with a positive differential. So that itself is pretty big. Nuno lost to Luke, which was not great, but beat Hammy, which was a big one for me. I believe that is Hammy's only loss on the season. Yes, that's Hammy's only loss so far, so that's super impressive. And has shown that can beat one of the better battlers so far. However, then did end up losing to, who was it, like Nathan. So Nathan and Luke, who are like two of them. Well, Nathan for me is one of the top this season, and Luke, who is middle lower, losing to that makes me a little nervous. And then beating Devin, but Devin wasn't doing well anyways.
Not to mention, in that match against Devin, he got help prepping from Cap, which never do that.
Yes.
Cap's the kind of guy to bring dual dance Gligar.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really have too much about Nuno. It's mostly just Nuno actually has a positive differential at 2 and 2. It did, to the big thing for me that bumped Nuno way up was beating Hammy.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen Nuno battle in other leagues. He's always really, really solid. So I'm glad to see he's still doing pretty good here. One thing that I gave him quite a bit of a hit in my rankings is his battle against Nathan, where he just let a Swords Dance Cobalion set up all over him. Like, he had the Cobalion out behind a sub out against his Druddigon, and instead of switching out to something that could maybe beat the Cobalion a bit better, he clicks Dragon Tail, which doesn't break the sub, and then that just allows the Cobalion just set up and run through his team. And I just felt like that one misplay just really kind of hampered him, and it gave him a pretty bad loss to Nathan, which Nathan is a good battler. He's up there higher on the ranks. But I don't know, I feel like if Nuno could have just pulled that win out, he'd easily be like top 5, maybe even top 3. And one thing I want to mention is we have both Cap and Nuno as 6th place in the standings right now. So before anyone calls us out on that, I did it first. No, the actual official ranking is that Cap is in 7th and Nuno is in 6th. I have that on my notes.
Yep. and I see that too. But yeah. I don't really have anything else to say about Nuno. Do you have anything?
No. Wait. Does Nuno have Breloom this league?
Give me 1 second. Nuno does not look like it.
Because I've seen him with a Breloom in like every other league. Nuno, what are you doing? You left your Breloom behind.
Yeah.
That's why you're losing.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah. Anyway, number 6.
Number 6, we also both have Pesky. Pesky is another 2-2, -1 differential, is in 9th, but that's just because alphabetically Pesky was, if I remember right, Pesky is just the last alphabetically out of the 2-2 with a -1 differential teams. So Pesky did struggle against the top people. Went 1-2 in the little first bracket, so beat Arch, but Arch wasn't doing quite as well against the top people. But then lost to Wolf and MX, and ended up beating Jason, who Jason's not doing well. So that's why Pesky's just a little lower. Pesky's just not quite reaching the level that Pesky was last season, at least so far, like with the team. But you can't blame him too much because Wolf and MX have both been doing well. MX is a little harder to tell because MX did well in the first little circuit, but I think MX has only played 3 games so far, so we can't tell too much from him. But overall, Pesky seems to be at the top of the 2-2, but isn't quite reaching those upper level players, and it's just not quite, so far at least, not quite the same Pesky as last season.
Yeah, his ranking makes a lot of sense, at least in my opinion. You know, he has 2 losses to 2 top 5 players, so it makes sense that he's just shy of making top 5. He's still definitely a solid battler, even if his standing doesn't reflect that right now. And he has a 2-0 loss and a 4-0 loss, so it's not like super close. But that 4-0 loss was a terrible team matchup. Like MX's team versus Pesky's, it wasn't even close. Like I could tell way before that battle even started that MX was gonna win by a lot. One thing to note about that battle against MX is there's a pretty considerable stall war against Megalodios and Milotic. I don't know why that went on for so long. It was obvious that Milotic was going to win that in the end, but it just went on for like 20 turns, and neither party really gained anything out of it. But, yeah, that was not fun to watch.
Yeah, and Pesky's another one just like Arch, who I can see. I guess obviously Pesky's not gonna jump up as much because I have Arch down at like 13th, I think it was. But Pesky could very easily start moving up now that Pesky has gotten Arch, Wolf, MX. Does still have Vesuvius and Nathan, but getting those big 3 from last season out of the way, I can see Pesky moving up a couple spots pretty easily.
Yeah, he just needs to nab those easy wins.
Yeah.
So I want to move on to number 5.
Yes, number 5. I have MX, you have Vesuvius. So I guess I'll just start with MX. I have MX down here simply because MX has only played 3 battles. Sure, MX beat Wolf, which I believe is the only person to beat Wolf this season yet. Yep. And beat Pesky, who's been kind of off and on, or not off and on, just not quite doing as well. But does have a loss to Arch. So, beat Pesky, who's 2-2, which is like pretty good, especially since Pesky. But that loss to Arch, just being Arch's only loss, hurts MX a little bit to me. And then, as I said, the fact that MX only has 3 battles, while there's other people who have 5, which I don't believe is MX's fault, but it just makes it a little harder for me to rank MX quite so high, just because like we haven't seen week to week that he's quite on the next level that some of the others are.
Yeah, MX and Vess are another 2 Another pair that I thought were really, really close. It could have went either way. The one thing that I felt pushed Vest down a little bit was that he lost to Jason. It wasn't even a close loss. It was a 3-0.
Yeah.
Whereas MX's only loss was to Arc. And yeah, Arc's not doing real well in the rankings right now, but he's still a really solid battler. Whereas Jason hasn't quite proved himself as well. So I feel like just comparing those losses right there, it's I think a loss to a better coach, impacts more. But they're both really, really close. Also, Vestus doesn't have as impressive wins as MX does. Like, he has a win against Arc, but it's a narrow win, and Arc isn't doing as great as he was last season. He has a win against Cap, which Cap isn't doing the best. He has a win against Seb, who's, a bottom 2 coach. So just looking at the wins and the losses, I just feel like MX's win spread was better, which is why I put him a spot above. But these two are very close, in my opinion.
Yeah, and to me, Vesuvius did have... To me, that Cap one was actually decently big, though, because... So, had that pretty big loss to Jason week 1, but then comes back and beats Seb, and then beats Capital, who was on a 2-0 win streak, and was kind of if I remember right, Capital won what was it, 4-2, or I believe he was at +6 at this point differential. So beat a Capital that was kind of on fire, was impressive. And then Art, who so far this season is probably, or might be, near the bottom of the top 4, 5, whatever, is still a pretty big one for me. And I just felt like Vesuvius, as I said, it's more just Vesuvius has played 5 games. We've seen Vesuvius 5 games. Vesuvius just made a trade, or just picked up Lando T, I think, recently. I believe he had it against Wolf, but Wolf is doing outstanding, so I can't really take too much about that loss from him. And I think that I kind of like Vesuvius' team, and then I think he made some improvements that made it a lot better, and that's why I bumped him up a bit higher.
Yeah, I think if Vest can just get one more win against a high-ranking coach, if he beats Pesky or something, I can definitely see him rising to maybe top 3, perhaps. But right now, I just don't feel his wins are as impressive as MX's, so I just have to put him just a tiny bit lower. But he's still top 5 easily. There's no doubt about that. It's just these two are really close, so I had to give the slight edge to MX.
Yeah, and I think once MX has week 4 battle in, possibly week 5 too, whenever we make this next, I think that they could flop for me as long as MX beats Seb and beats Cap, which should be able to do.
Yeah, I see that happening. Definitely.
So next we'll move on to fourth. Fourth, we just have these swapped. We've already explained why they're very close for both of us. For you, it's MX has more impressive wins. For me, it's MX just hasn't played as many games and hasn't shown week to week, and I want to see, because these next couple games, while they should be pretty easy, if MX does lose against Seb or Cap, that's a pretty big hurt to MX. So now we'll move on to our top 3. So in third, I have Hammy at 4-1, +7 differential, and is currently second in the rankings. You have Nathan. So I believe these two are swapped for us between second and third. I'll just start with Hammy. Hammy is 4-1. Has beat Devin, Luke, Azusa, and Nathan. So it seems kind of weird that I'd put someone who beat Nathan below him and has a higher record. But the thing is, to me, Hammy's wins, besides Nathan was a big one, but besides Nathan, aren't as impressive. Beat, who is it? Starmon, who was Devin week 1. We've already talked about Devin. I don't need to touch on why that doesn't mean too much to me. Luke beat Luke, who I've heard has shown can do very well. So far, last season did not show it. This season is still yet to show it against the better battlers. Lost to Nuno, who is someone I found quite a bit better, or seems to be a bit better, and then lost to or no, beat Azusa. Azusa's first week with the team, while still like has not figured it out. While Hammy already has 3 battles to get used to the team. So to me, it's just Hammy beating Nathan was really big. That was like the first one that I'm like, okay, so like Hammy can do well against the higher opponents yet. Just hasn't quite to me. Next week plays Zombie. If beats Zombie, beats Zeb, like those two, I can definitely see Hammy overtaking Nathan. But at the time, it just hasn't quite shown it to me. It's kind of for me like MX last season. I don't know if you like paid attention at all, but MX kind of sat. Obviously, not third is not low at all, but MX sat at like 5th or 6th for a long time for me until finally was able to battle against someone like I think it was Vesuvius battled and beat, or it might have been Arch. No, not Arch. Arch won all games. Might have been Pesky. Anyway, like I think once, especially if Hammy beats Zombie, who I'm a huge fan of, I can see him moving up in a second. But at the time, just hasn't quite proven it.
Yeah, I put Hammy a bit higher than Nathan. I want to say, actually, I'm pretty certain one of the contributing factors to this is that I analyzed Hammy's battles before I did Nathan's, which means my notes are more thorough, my analysis more thorough, which probably played a pretty big factor in there. But I'm sorry if you feel gypped, Nathan. One of the things I noticed about Hammy, though, is that he kind of wins his battles before they start. Like, he doesn't make amazing plays, he doesn't thoroughly outplay his opponent, but his prep work is really, really good. Like, he's probably one of the best preppers in this league, so, like, if you want team building advice, go to him. In his match against Nathan, Nathan brought a lot of setup spam, and to counteract that, Hammy brought a lot of priority, like in Extreme Speed Entei and Tri-Edge Comfy with that Draining Kiss, and I think he also had Giga Drain, and he was able to shut down that setup spam. So, ordinarily, I'd be a bit tempted to put him down because of that, because prep work can be really hit or miss at times, like you either get the prep work really right or you get it really wrong. But so far, he's only gotten it wrong once, and having an 80% success rate on that. Admittedly, he hasn't fought, the best coaches, but still, being able to pull out that prep work and win those battles so handedly before you even go into them, I feel like that's really impressive. And, once he does get into those higher battles, I think he's going to have an easy time going toe-to-toe with them. Whereas Nathan just, maybe I just didn't see it because I analyzed him actually dead last. But I wasn't seeing those special skills from him. One thing I didn't like about Nathan is his Week 3 battle versus Sky. He did end up winning, but he could have had a lot higher of a differential had he went for the Specs Victini Blue Flare sweep, but instead he clicked Flamethrower, which means he didn't kill Lando, and it got his sweep stopped. And I feel like if he makes decisions like those, which, sure, it didn't lose him the game, but it wasn't an optimal play. Yeah, you can make arguments like, oh, what about accuracy? But, Victini with its Victory Star, I don't feel like accuracy was that big of a problem. And even after the Victini went down, he still won. So I feel like he definitely should have went for that. I think it would have been like a 4-0 or something if he did that. I feel like just making those suboptimal plays aren't... it's not going to get him as far. Whereas Hammy, with his amazing prep work, and even though he doesn't, make the best plays ever, he's still playing solidly in every battle. His Week 5 battle versus his Week 4 battle versus Azusa. It was Azusa's first week with the team, so there's growing pains there. But if you want to watch a really good battle, watch that battle because it was Hammy playing at his peak, and if you want to know how to get around walls like Mega Venusaur and Porygon 2. It's an excellent example of how to do it. I think I ranked Hammy's team during team analysis way back when. I think I ranked it pretty low, but I'm glad to see he's doing really good things with it. He's definitely the coach that surprised me the most in terms of how well they're doing.
Yeah, so I guess like Hammy, it sounds like is somewhat similar to Archie last season. Besides like games where Archfiend really had to. Like, the still sticks in mind the Pesky game, which was amazing. The Archfiend Pesky last season. Archfiend kind of just won with prep most weeks until it like really mattered. However, then we ended up seeing in the playoffs that sometimes like if that prep doesn't work out and if you rely entirely on the prep, it can go downhill. as I believe someone in this taught Archfiend. But yeah, that's just why I'm a little hesitant on Hammy. Just with yet to play some of the better ones. However, Nathan, it is part of the fact why I put him one above, which I'll just move to now. I did put Nathan one above. It is partially biased to how much I like Nathan's team. I think Nathan has my favorite team. Zombie is like right up there, but Nathan's team I am just a huge fan of. It has, like, I love Victini, Tapu Fini. I really like Salamence. Like, those 3 months, like, I like his team so much. I think that Nathan can definitely do some very good stuff with it. However, Nathan is... It's a little different, because usually when I play with Nathan starts out extremely strong, and then kind of might taper off, whereas Nathan lost the first battle against Zombie, which I thought for sure Nathan would win. And then, like, did well in the middle there, and then has tailed off against Hammy. I think that if Nathan can maybe get, like, I don't know, some help team building, we'll have, like, a very successful season and, like, remain near the top. But also part of this, I said, is I just really like Nathan's team.
Yeah, I want to go over a quick breakdown of each of Nathan's battle to kind of give a better understanding as to why I didn't rank him as high. Week 1, he battled Zombie and lost. Week 2, he won against Zeb. It was a 6-0 win, but in my opinion, it wasn't very impressive because he just won because he won a Calm Mind War, which was completely RNG.
Yep.
Week 2 versus Sky, he played well, but ended up making that slight subpar play with Flamethrower, which was arguably not even subpar, but I view it as subpar at least. But yeah, that's probably his best battle. That was him playing at his peak so far. His battle against Nuno, he definitely did good. One thing I didn't mention before, I can't remember exactly what happened, but in my notes, there was some unfortunate hacks at the end that allowed him to win, which, even though it was a great victory with the SD Cobalion, I feel like that hacks giving him the win at the end kind of takes it away. Oh, I remember what happened now. It was Porygon 2, or Porygon Z with Tri-Attack burning something at the end of a match that if that burn didn't happen, Nuno would have won. So having that hacks come into his favor, again, it takes away from that victory. And then he lost to Hammy. So out of all those, there's like one impressive win there, whereas Hammy, in my opinion, has 4, which is just really what it comes down to, which is why I put Hammy above Nathan.
Yeah, and yeah, I think these two for me are very close. I think it would be a lot easier to tell a lot of these, especially those middle ones, but like especially these two by like week 7 or 8. Yeah, I don't have too much. Oh, I guess one thing I will point out is I can kind of see. I remember Archfiend did get a little bit lucky earlier in the game, but did end up losing to Pesky week 1 after going for differential, which, while obviously a victory star blue flare has like I want to say it's like a 93% accuracy or something like that. I don't know, math.
I want to say it's 97.
We're busting out the calculator for this bad boy, because I believe
Because it's 85 at base, right?
Yeah, I think it's times 1.1, isn't it?
Yeah. So
yeah.
If it's 85 at base, I think that puts it at 97%.
It puts it at 93.5, I believe. It's
I can do that.
But anyways, I can kind of see because Pesky missed an Iron Tail going for differential, which would have knocked out whatever it was facing, and then went for some other move. I forget what it was.
Focus Blast. It was Focus Blast.
Yeah, Focus Blast. Missed an Iron Tail and a Focus Blast. I believe either of them would have knocked out the Sudowoodo. And missed both and lost to it because of it. So I can kind of see after that week. I guess it was 2
Yeah,
weeks.
but that's a difference between going for 270 accuracy moves and like a 94% accurate move.
Yeah.
I don't think that's as much as an excuse.
Yeah, and like I don't know, I'm kind of, I don't know if I'd say like, I can kind of understand, because especially if Nathan already had the game in the bag, but at the same time, like it's pretty early in the season. There's a lot of coaches very close. Like no one has really jumped out this season way ahead or way behind. So you kind of, I guess, might want to be going for those differential saving moves early on, but at the same time, I kind of understand going for the win and just hoping you can keep this record up.
Yeah, he did get the win in the end, though, so I'm not taking it too hard against it. Like, if we were given scores out of 100, I feel like that battle would have taken off like half a point.
Yeah.
It's such a minor nitpick, but I feel like when you got such close rankings as we do this time, you gotta make those nitpicks.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we've talked about these two for a long time, and I believe we are ready to move to both of our number ones. Wolf. I'll start us again. Wolf, first of all, only loss so far is to MX. Has also played, in my opinion, the 5 best overall coaches. Like, Nathan, I think, has a better team than some of them, and that's why he's so high up in the rankings for me. But I still believe that MX, Pesky, Arch, and Vesuvius are the, plus Wolf, are the top 5 coaches, play-wise, battle-wise, like, mostly as, like, battlers, but then, like, just in general. And only having a loss to MX is kind of insane. Beating Pesky, I know, hasn't been doing as great. I guess the others haven't been doing as well, but I think it's just because having such a hard season in the beginning and then coming out 4-1 out of that, and now being able to probably take it a little easier or having a little bit easier wins. Obviously, there's going to be some hard ones in there. There's still Hammy. There's still Nathan. There's any of the other coaches, honestly. Like, I'm sorry, I doubt Sethi will watch this, but like last season, if you battled Sethi, you basically knew it was a free win. And there's, in my opinion, no one like that this year in the league. But I do think it gets easier. And so I think that Wolf has proven, has first of all done all 5 battles. So it's even ahead a little bit. And then in those 5 battles, they've been against a lot of really good players and has really proven himself. And he's ranked number 1 in the standings also for a reason, because he's pulling off wins that some of the others aren't able to. And yeah, you got anything to say about him?
Congratulations to Wolf. He's definitely doing great this season. He was the second person whose battles I went through and watched, so I have quite a bit of analysis on my notes for him. I really didn't want to put him up this high, to be honest, because after watching the first couple battles, his battle against MX, he kind of did awful in. He played great with Nidoqueen, and that's a trend you'll see if you look through all of his battles. He knows how to use Nidoqueen, and he knows how to use it really well. But everything else he didn't use to its full potential in his first 2 games. He had a Haxorus, which he just threw away to defensive Altaria. He went for a Poison Jab while he was +1, which, sure, you could say that, he didn't know it wouldn't kill, because he didn't know it was defensive Altaria. But early in that match, it was revealed that it was defensive Altaria, so he should have known that and not threw away his Haxorus like that. His second match against Pesky, he threw away his Tangrowth. I feel like Tangrowth is a Pokemon you should never be throwing away because that's such a good wall, but he let it go. He does that a couple times. I don't like the way he plays with Tangrowth, but he definitely starts making up for it later in his games. Like he adjusts more to his team, I know he didn't draft the best team in the league, so maybe that was just he was struggling to get used to it in the first couple matches, and it definitely shows as he picks up the pace later on. His week 5 match versus Vess, I consider one of the best matches in the league so far. He didn't prep great towards Mega Blastoise, but he still managed to pull out the win against it, especially knowing it's set. Scouting for it with Ditto, I think turn 1 or turn 2. And yeah, he's just playing very solidly, getting to know his team. He's picking up a lot of momentum. I honestly see him only getting better, especially as he has some of his hardest battles already behind him and is coming out with victories. Yeah, if he can pull out a win against Nathan and who else hasn't he fought? It's really just Nathan. If he can get past Nathan, I can see him definitely.
I don't believe he's fought Hammy either yet.
Oh yeah, Hammy or Nathan. If he can get through those battles and even just win one of them, I could definitely see him maintaining a first place throughout the entire league. Yeah. So with that being said, I think it's time to make predictions. Who's gonna win the league? Who's gonna win, Rat? Who's gonna win?
Let's do some looking. I think the person who wins the league, I want to go with the team I really like, but I don't trust either if they're battling. I don't know. This is hard because I think I'm going Pesky. I'm going Pesky at least through regular season wins it. I think Pesky has a team that the top people, because I've said earlier, or if you watch like the team rankings, there's like Mons to me that are absolutely like blowout. Like they come in, they do their job. You don't have to play it around too hard. Blasphalon is one of those. Megaladios is another one. Zapdos kind of is. Like those all just like when you look at a team, they jump out at you. And even if you prep for them, there's not always a ton you can do. Whereas Wolf does not have that team to me. Has Tornadus T, which is obviously very good, but then has like Azelf, Tangrowth. Tangrowth also very good. But like Nidoqueen, Mega Sharpedo, Kyurem, like to me these are not mons that just absolutely jump out at you. However, like if you use them right, they're very versatile mons that when you use right can be very good. And I think that is what Wolf needed in the earlier games, against teams like Arch, Pesky, MX, Vesuvius. However, I do think it makes the later games harder. Because there are some mons that if you play them even like slightly right can just be auto wins. Like Blasphalon is kind of just you get like either scarfed or like +1 speed and you can kind of just click to win. Whereas Wolf doesn't have that, and I think in every battle Wolf is gonna have to kind of fight. So I give the regular season winner at least to Pesky.
All right. I'm thinking the winner is either going to be Vesuvius or Wolf. Right now, I'm leaning towards Wolf. His team isn't the best, but I feel like he can always patch that up. Like if he's really starting to feel a hole in his team, he can still patch that up with free agents and such. And he's obviously showing that he can get the results he needs and that he's working great with his team. And some of his not so great mons, like Nidoqueen I mentioned earlier, he's doing great with. So the holes he has to patch up, they aren't huge. He just needs to work with the tools he has, learn how to use them a bit better. I say the one barrier to his success, or two technically, utilizing Tangrowth and Tornadus T. If he can master those two mons, I feel he's gonna win no problem.
Yeah, that Regenerator core can just be such a hard, annoying thing to break for really any team. So if you can get those two mons down, especially having them together, that can be kind of disgusting. In a good way, though.
Tornadus is a Pokemon that I find really difficult to use in draft format because there's so many things it can do. Trying to find out what it should be doing is really difficult.
Yeah.
And I don't think Wolf has had the most success. He's not using it as badly as I feel he's using Tangrowth. And Tangrowth is easy to learn how to use. Just be more defensive with it, honestly. But yeah, if he can master Tornadus T, start playing better with Tangrowth, I feel like he's going to win without a doubt. He's my pick for winning.
interesting. I'm interested to see if we talk about this later, if either of us change in a couple or next week, a couple weeks. But yeah, there's just like a couple people. Like I could easily see MX rising up there if MX wins. It's just MX is a little too far behind in games right now to really predict MX for me. But like if everyone gets caught up in like the next week or so, I'm really excited to kind of see how the season's looking then.
Yeah, I want to say Hammy is going to win. Like, I really do. I'm rooting for him. But one thing I'm a bit scared about is, his matches are so prep dependent. And once you get into playoffs, you lose one match, you're out of playoffs. And once he goes to rematch against, like, Wolf or something, Wolf especially, I feel like if he fights Wolf in playoffs, that's going to be a win to Wolf. Just because Wolf is just really good at looking at teams and prepping, and I feel like with their prep on a similar level, Wolf has the advantage once the battle starts.
Yeah, that's what I really want to give it to Nathan. As I've said, I love Nathan's team. Like I would really like to have that one. Like at least like some of the beginning picks, but like those it just hasn't quite shown. However, like as I said earlier. Sure, Nathan hasn't quite shown that he's up at that level, that some of the other ones are, and same thing with Zombie, or some of the other teams I really like. However, a lot of the coaches are very close, and I really have no idea what's going to happen this season. If you watch the Pick'ems video, you'll see we are very bad at Pick'ems, because it's really hard to do right now. Just guessing this league, it's all over the place. It's week 5 and no one is undefeated, and also no one has or every single person has a win though, which is different from last season. Last season there was a clear-cut top 5, and the other stuff, it was pretty easy to predict, I'd say. We didn't do pick'ems, but like you could usually guess who was gonna win, whereas this year it's a lot more even, team-wise and like coach-wise.
Yeah, that just means it's more exciting to watch, though. Like, it did feel like a bit of a chore watching every single battle over the course of, like, 3 or 4 hours, but there were definitely some good moments in there. It's definitely been a more exciting season than Season 1.
Yeah. Last season was really fun to watch the top 5. And I guess, like, yeah, it was mostly just the top 5 that was super fun to watch, because, like, they had good battles, especially when they battled, like, who's going to win, who's going to be the top seed, whatever, in the playoffs. And then, like, once it hit playoffs, sorry to say, Duck, actually, you did have one of the big upsets, right?
Hey, I made it to semis.
Yeah, you made it to semis, but, like, once playoffs hit, like, we kind of had a very solid idea of who is at least going to make it to finals. You had that big upset, obviously, but the other 3 we all predicted, and then the semifinals games were like decently interesting, but this season, like, it is not as cut as a top 5 or top 4 or whatever it was early in the season.
Yeah. That being said, though, my throat's starting to hurt. We've been talking for a long time.
So yeah, this is a 68-minute video so far. Whoops.
Well, that's not as bad as I thought.
Yeah, it was kind of like a up to week 5 season recap too.
Yeah.
So hopefully they'll be a little faster in the future, but with that, I think we are done.
Before we end it off, I want to say I don't think we're going to start doing weekly power rankings, but I think definitely just doing these block power rankings. I want to say the next one, maybe after week 8. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, I think that's what it'll probably be too. It's also kind of weird because at least right now in the league, a lot of people in the league are in school, and winter break either makes it easy for you to participate in the league, or for someone like me who I came home from college, I was either working every day or I was like hanging out with people every day. It's at a weird spot in the league, as you've seen. Some people have 5 battles done. Some people have 3 battles done. So like once everyone gets caught up, which might not be till like week 8, or whenever we decide to, we'll do another one.
Yeah, I think a good schedule will be week 8, and then going into... How many weeks are there in total?
15, I believe, because I believe it's a round robin. between 16 coaches.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So yeah, after week 8, then after week 12, and then going into playoffs. Those will probably be the power ranking schedule.
Okay. Sounds good.
So yeah, thank you all for watching. Anyone who has made it this far into the video, give yourself a pat on the back. Maybe get yourself a scoop of ice cream. You deserve it. You're worth it.
Maybe question why. I don't know. I'd give it a definite why if you watch this whole thing, especially if you watched it in normal speed and not like 1.5 or 2. But
I don't know. I think I talk too much for most people to watch at 1 point, or not too much, but like too fast. Too much too. You guys don't want to hear me.
yeah.
Just mute the video whenever I'm talking.
Okay. So yeah, with that, we should probably cut it off.
Yeah. Goodbye. Have a good night. You're all cool. All 6 of you.
Yes. Peace out.